So this story I saw multiple different places, but the first thing I saw it on was comic book movies, I believe.com, and essentially is a producer. Let's pull up the article to give you the exact name, but a producer over at Marvel said that Xmen is a very outdated term because there's a lot of women in the group Xmen.
So you guys have a lot of toys to play with now in the future, including the X-Men, right?
Yes.
Could you, of course you can't tell me much, but can you give me a little hint of what the future is coming? Where is the future going and excitement?
It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female superheroes in that X-Men group, so I think it's outdated.
Which I wasn't offended by this. I actually found it pretty comical. And it just kind of shows to me where we're at as a society. My 2 cents on it, it's fucking acidine. I love that we've totally reworked the word man to no longer mean mankind. You know, X-Men is a gender inclusive name.
See, and I thought X-Men were like bigger than ever because what's his name, Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner is a fucking national treasure.
I know, that's my favorite X-Man.
Yeah, I watched the video. And what an aloof thing to say. What an aloof, stupid thing to say. And what you said is that's the thing, is that man includes women, but then it also is gender specific. But that means that we've got other outdated words that we need to take care of. Like, it can't just stop there. What about manager? That is a sexist word, manager.
That is a very manatee.
Manatee, disgusting.
Disgusting. We only acknowledge these male manatees.
I mean, ramen noodles? More than men eat ramen.
It's one of those, it blows my mind. And to me, it shows such a misunderstanding of language if you think. So for anyone, off the top of my head, where woman and man comes from is, man used to mean both. Then there was Y-man, which means like W-Y men, which was referred to, I believe, as women, and then wereman or something like that back in the day was referred to as men. Over time, we dropped the wereman, it just became man, and then women, Y-men became women, and then man still meant both, so it was a little confusing, you know?
I didn't come here for a fucking history lesson, Caleb.
I know.
You're teaching me way too much.
We just wanted to yell at it in anger. It just, to me, it's dumb. I don't know if she really is outraged by it, because it did seem like just an offhand comment.
Yeah, she didn't seem like pissed, but I don't know that English was her first language.
It just seems.
Did you hear her talk?
No, I didn't. I just read the quote real quick, and
she seemed like a nice lady. But yes, it was all very like femme. The whole thing was about Captain Marvel and about X-Men and the future of the two world universes together. And it was the lion's share of the interview was about Captain Marvel being available. But then he was like, you know, what about the future of the X-Men? And she's like, we don't really have any plans specifically right now. We don't really know what is going to happen with the X-Men, but that's an outdated term. There's a lot of women in that group. So I think it's funny that people call it the X-Men, which is fine. She was just like musing in public, but it was a dumb question to ask yourself. Why do they call it that? Because of mankind, because of humanity, because of it is always meant. So what do you call it then? Do we have to invent a new word that is inclusive?
Well, and it's funny because I think it was it Deadpool 2 where he takes a poke at this whole ideology where he goes, we're gonna name it nothing sexist. It's gonna be X-Force for gender inclusive. Or
yes, absolutely.
And to me, it was making fun of people like her. You know, it was like, oh, these people. What do we can call it? X-people? That sounds horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah, people. There's that
X-peeps.
word. I guess I should be more familiar with that word considering we use it. Yikes. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it.
I thought it was funny.
It is hilarious. It is hilarious. And you know, people are going to put a lot of stock into this. People are going to like literally there are other people musing that right now, trying to figure out how you rebrand something. And in fact, the Men in Black International trailer. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
At the very end, he says, "We're the Chris Hemsworth says we're the men in black, or the men and women in black." And he turns around, and he looks at Tessa Thompson, and she's just kind of like, "Wow, good job." But it's kind of a punchline.
Yeah, so it's funny. This whole like woke being offended at everything is, I'm really starting to see a big backlash from everyone, left, right, and center, on it, which I think is the right reaction to all this idiocy. You know, is just to be like, oh my God, here we go again, eye roll. And I think it's by pushing this so much, it's gonna get to a point, unfortunately, where, because right now there's people like us who are just like, oh, this is funny. Guarantee you can find other YouTube videos right now of people freaking out,
Mad as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, this feminist, whatever, you know. I'm sure it's all over YouTube. I'm
And
sure.
on the other side, just completely praising it unconditionally.
It's such a stupid thing to say that we need to address stupid shit as stupid shit and go, man, that's dumb. You know, like,
Yeah.
you're an idiot.
Yeah. Let's talk about the wage gap if you want to talk about inequality, but when you're talking about men not being a good word, it's just, I don't know what you do about that. I mean, like, I guess we take characters that traditionally maybe don't come from the best place, and we rework them into something that's a little more current. And I think Captain Marvel is a pretty good example of that, from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel, but it kind of changed who the character was, you know?
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like, I do think there are things that should be reworked, or things that are very offensive that you're like, okay, they just don't fit in with a modern time. I get that. I really, really do. And then there's doing stuff and saying stuff just for virtue signaling, which I cannot stand, where people just do stuff to prove how woke they are and how progressive they are. And to me, it just comes off so douchey, to be honest. Just like, oh my God, here we go again. Okay, we get it. You're the most sensitive, beautiful person on the planet. Okay, we get it. We all should feel ashamed because we're not as open as you are. It's funny to me at this point.
What about the Chiefs and the Redskins? Is that all right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, to me, I don't know. I have two minds of these things. I understand how that is offensive, but I don't know if ignoring and rewriting all of it at the same time is the right answer. I don't know. I'm torn on that one. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Redskins in particular is a little bit gross, but there was Geronimo, the very famous Indian chief, was held here at Fort Pickens on Pensacola Beach hundreds of years ago during the French American War. I don't know what war it was. Don't hold me to that, but he was held prisoner for a couple of years, and there was a kind of tourist shop / liquor store that was opening up on Pensacola Beach, and they tried to use the name Geronimo Spirit. They actually used the name Geronimo Spirit, and it led to a bunch of protests, trying to get the place shut down. And I remember thinking, like, he's a part of our local lore. Shouldn't people be able to use that as, like, it keeps the legend alive in a way?
Well, are there a lot of Native Americans in Florida? I would assume not that much.
There's not a lot of Native Americans anywhere. I'd imagine not near as many as are in New Mexico and Arizona in particular.
I'm from the state with the highest per capita of Native Americans,
right?
New Mexico. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, even I remember when one of my friends started dating his husband now, we said Indian. He's like, it's Native American. I was like, dude, I can tell you were not raised around Native Americans because, they don't care about that.
Yeah,
and then his husband was like, one day said it in front of him. He's like, yeah, something growing up Indian. And we were pointing to it. I was like, dude, I told you. It's not offensive. Mm-hmm. The only people who are offended by that word, in my experience, are white people who are offended by it.
Yeah.
So that was my thing with Florida. I'm like, I don't know if there's...
Well, there's like FSU, we got the Seminoles college football team. There's a lot of tribes that were here. Okay. Not near as many as New Mexico. Like when I did like the Indian reservation thing, it was in New Mexico. So I don't know. I don't know how, like, I don't know how you address things like that. Do you change something that's been an institution for so long? Like another example, that's probably as far to one end of the spectrum as you could from the X-Men conversation, but the Confederate flag. I know a bunch of Civil War reenactors who are not racist, who are history buffs, who dress as Confederate soldiers because that's who their forefathers were in the war. If they're really from the South, then they're, historically they're from the South. So there was always the conversation about heritage, not hate, but then it was kind of adopted as a hate sign or a hate symbol. So then we get back to that conversation about intent versus like you had mentioned earlier. So I don't know, man. It's a very tricky thing to navigate because I think there's an argument to be made on both sides.
I definitely do. Like, if I see a Confederate flag and I'm like, oh man. But I literally was looking through old Facebook pictures. I'm at a friend's house, at his parents' house, who literally called me their son, who literally called my wife their daughter, and they adore her. And in their garage, I never noticed it. Like, in the background, there's a Confederate flag. And I was just like, what the hell?
Really?
Yeah. And this is someone who loves me, loves my wife, and I've never had the conversation with him because it never came up and never thought about it until that one time I saw the picture and now.
Right. Right.
But so I would love to sit down with someone like that who I'm like, you obviously have no problem with race. You with open arms accept me and my wife, and but you also have this symbol, because I do see the symbol. Am I completely honest? I do see it as like a hate symbol. I really do. My brain goes there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I, for me, I mean, obviously this is my opinion, but I think that's the correct way to view it. When you've had people being hung under that banner, I think at that point it is adopted that. But there's people who it's just South, or it just means like rebellion or whatever people symbol it means.
Rebel pride. Yeah. I don't know. I've never owned or flown a Confederate flag. I think, like you said, I think they're too synonymous with it, regardless of how other people can choose to not see it like that. It's really hard to overlook it. It's like, the swastika was originally a Hindu symbol. Well, unfortunately now it's a Nazi symbol.
You said the greatest pun without even realizing it. You said, I don't know how people can not see it like that.
Hey, I'm going to remix that shit. All right.
Yeah, I know.
X-Men. Yeah. What do you guys think about that conversation? Let us know down in the comment section. Is the word man just dated? Should we just get rid of men altogether?